there off of Washington. I put a lot of the architectural windows in all those historical buildings down there on Washington. I would have to say probably 70% of them. And I'm very familiar with that area, which is nice. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep on working on this. I'm not done with it.
Because a couple of things that would be good to showcase, because this is for parks, so people are often out on their mobile phone looking up information. So being able to do this, so it formats well, whether it's on a mobile device or on the laptop. So kind of showcasing a responsive design would be good. You know, having links to public websites, you know, to get some of the information. So you could do a lot of things with this concept to really showcase your web development skills too.
Yes, I agree. Thank you.
So Shawn, I'm curious from the standpoint of less technical per se, but you know, if you take out the unexpected life piece there that came into play, you know, what else do you think you learned through the process? What would you change? What would you do more of?
I learned that I really love this. It interests me, and what I like about it is it's constantly evolving. You know, it never will stop. It's constantly going to change and get better, and I really want to be a part of that. You know, I enjoy learning. I think that's what keeps us all young, is if you keep learning. And I learn from the good and the bad, regardless. You know, so I try to look at everything as positively as I possibly can.
So Shawn, what's your next step now that you have finished your coursework here with Savvy Coders? You know, I would say completed your capstone, but you've got a great start on it here. You got some more work you say you want to do. What's your next step? Are you looking for employment? Are you looking to take more courses?
You know what? I am somebody that just kind of is looking to keep learning. I would love to be able to work and do this, you know, and keep learning at the same time. Regardless, I won't stop learning it. I'm going to keep on. I want to master JavaScript as much as I can, and then I believe I'm going to keep on moving on to other languages.
Shawn, do you have any questions for our esteemed panel?
Yeah, I was kind of curious. What do you guys most look for in an employee or a potential employee?
Well, I'll start by, you know, I love the comment you just made about, you know, just your enthusiasm. I think for something new and change. I'm pretty sure anybody on this call would tell you that dealing with change in all its ways, all its various aspects is important. So it's you know, even those of us who, because I'm you know, one that likes change, generally speaking, but sometimes there's more change than I even want. But that doesn't mean that I don't have to roll with it, right? So I like that you said that. I think that's important. That'll be something that you'll want to stress when the time comes to interview and things like that. I think that's something that in today's world is not that it wasn't important before, but it's even more important to kind of hone that part of your story.
Thank you.
I would also say, you know, I think employers are really looking for somebody that wants to take initiative. You know, right now we're definitely seeing those people, and you know, with the change and kind of piggybacking on that lifelong learner wants to, you know, constantly strive to be better, you know, is researching and learning new things like throughout their life, and you know, just always trying to extend to be, you know, the best that they can be. too, as well.
I agree.
Yeah, because I think those are really good points because they're really to someone who brings that little bit something extra, always a little bit more than expected. So, when it's developers, they're showing a real passion for the field. They've somehow studied a little bit more than you might have expected. So, to talk to people and realize they're really jumping in and showing that initiative, whether it's self-learning, thinking about some innovations for a particular part of the problem. But they're always giving that little bit extra of insight or effort into being prepared and delivering the products.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree totally too. Whenever we first found out about possibly becoming Savvy Coder students, it was about 3 weeks, maybe 3.5 weeks prior, and they threw us all this curriculum. They wanted us to get out of the way, and the curriculum actually probably called for roughly, I would say, a little over a month, maybe a month and a week of time. And I put in 3.5 weeks of time, roughly 10, 12-hour days every day, just to try to do this, and finally I got in there to do this. And I think I'm in a good place. I enjoy it. And I know now that I've delved into it, that it's something that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing I would add is, and I should have said this up front, and it kind of goes without saying, but I'll just reiterate it, is, obviously I talked about the change. We talked about, all the things we've just mentioned. But first and foremost, it's a combination of showing that you can build and execute, right, on whatever you're building and executing. Like I don't build and execute anything when it comes to to technology, but I do in other ways, right? And so it's a combination. I think a successful path is a combination of proving that you can build, that you can execute, that you can change along the way, and that you have that enthusiasm for all of that, right? So I would just add that piece.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
And kind of springboarding off of what Jeff just said, you had talked earlier on about kind of your previous career, and I think if you can draw those correlations when you're interviewing and presenting to an employer, talking about not focusing on your previous job, but the lessons learned and how they apply to what you're doing now. Because as you're making a career transition, that's what employers are going to want to try to assess, how well you're going to make that transition and why you're doing what you're doing. So we kind of call it an elevator pitch. Get that down pat. I mean, you don't want it to sound rehearsed, but at the same time, you want to have those thoughts kind of formulated in your mind and know why you're doing what you're doing and be able to clearly and concisely communicate that to the people that you're interviewing with.
Right. Okay. Definitely. Yeah. That like I've been superintendent on many jobs in the past here in St. Louis, union jobs. There's a lot of stress on that because when you're the superintendent, what you're doing is you're overseeing every trade that comes into that project and making sure everything correlates and everything is choreographed properly so we can get the project done on time. And I definitely can use some of those skills in this field.
Yeah, great. I mean, it's project, when you're building a website, it's project management, and you have some skills in that area. So you just need to transfer those.
I think I can.
Cool. Well, we're going to move on to the next person, Joe Jordan. So thanks very much, Shawn. We'll get contact information to you. I'll get your contact information to the folks that attended, and Thanks very much. You're on mute, Shawn. All right. So Joe Jordan is next. And I think on the separate email, I sent you guys all resumes and also a brochure for all the grads. I neglected to mention that. So hopefully you have that in your email. Hello, Joe. Lots of feedback on your mic there, bud.
Hello.
I thought that was his entrance song.
There you go. I thought it was going to be smoke and mirrors. How are you, Joe?
I'm good. How are you all?
I'm good. I'm good. So, Joe, we're just going to let you dive right in and do a brief introduction of yourself, and then you can share your screen and show everybody that's eager to see your project.
Okay. Well, I'm Joe Jordan. I currently work at Amazon as a warehouse associate. I graduated with an office administration education background. I've acquired that from Albuquerque Job Corps Center. I chose office administration as my trade to graduate from because I've always had a long history of interest in computers and technology, which has led me to Savvy Coders. I've learned a lot here. I've learned a lot on core methods and object-oriented programming within JavaScript, and to build a single-page application from the ground up. Career aspirations include becoming a junior web developer and someday a full-stack web developer. My project consists of creating a single-page application that compiles information on anti-cancerous foods, recipes, and information on health benefits by consuming a healthy diet. My target audience would be anyone interested in alternative medicine and healthy living. I'd like the opportunity to educate people about the many health benefits of consuming superfoods and the many health risks you could avoid by consuming these foods on a daily basis. Using food as medicine is not a common practice, and I'd like to educate people on that. I've been building this website with HTML, CSS, along with converting it into a single-page application to incorporate some JavaScript. And without further ado, here is my website. Okay, so here's my website. I have a Jumbotron down here for the homepage, and it was gonna be, like a welcoming message, educating people on how important it is to eat healthy and what it does for you. In the future, this would be where people's testimonies would go. And since we're on that subject, I haven't brought it up, but my cousin had stage 4 cancer, and she beat cancer by simply changing her diet. So that's literally what inspired me to create something like this. Unfortunately, she's not. I asked her if I'd be able to share her story on here, so I'm respecting her wishes by not doing it because she's a very private person. But this is where people's testimonies like hers would go. I have an informational section right here. This is pretty much just more information on healthy diets. At the bottom here, we would have, you know, the connection between a bad diet and what it does to your body. And then we would have some recipes right here. Eventually, I would like to incorporate some links for more information on this topic. I gathered a lot of information from WebMD, but it was a lot of research that went into this. We have a comment section here. I am currently messing around with this to try and get it to work so it could send comments to my email. But eventually, this is where your story would go, or your testimony, and with the person's permission, it would be displayed on this homepage. And then the gallery is just pictures for now, but in the future I would like to have people share maybe their plates, because I see a lot of people take pictures of their food. And then here at the bottom I have a link to my LinkedIn and my GitHub. So people can contact me, and other people can see all the projects I've been working on. And that is my project.
Oh, very interesting information. There's an organization out there that really pushes a lot of this quite nicely, called Forks Over Knives. In fact, my doctor at St. Luke's left St. Louis to join them as a medical director in Washington.
It's a great movie. Great documentary. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, cool concept. I'm glad to hear about your cousin.
Oh, thank you.
But, you know, it's just too hard to live without pizza. It's a single page app. I take it the the navigation, all driven through that. We've got some good links to other websites, which is nice. What things are you thinking of doing next if you kept working on this?
Well, I would like to have the opportunity to gather some stories and maybe put them on here or something like that. Because I mean, I was truly inspired by what my cousin did, and she did that all with just research. And if there was a page like this out there that just compiled all the information, I think that would be very, very helpful.
Do you have a database under this for that, or is it just hard-coded text?
I do not. I I was curious about Firebase, to maybe try to implement some of that in there, to use that as my database.
Because I think if you wanted to turn this into a really nice like portfolio project to go to the next step coding, a database would help you with your concept because you'd be able to have an input form, so you could really show how people could enter the data, but you have to have a way of storing that like a database. But then you could, along with that, if you made it responsive design, so it could go onto a cell phone, like you said, then they can take pictures and embed a picture as part of that form and save it. And that would really showcase building a pretty robust web app there.
Okay.
It's nice. I mean, good graphics and layouts, but particularly with the responsive design, it went across different design devices, and it showed how the screen still could accommodate that and be readable and handle the pictures and the content. We demonstrated a fairly advanced skill set.
Okay.
Kind of springing off of what Steve just said, and Joseph or Elaine, do you guys talk about responsive design? Is that something that you guys delve into, or is that a little bit more advanced topic than what your course covers?
I believe they touched on it a little bit, but I recently started working at Amazon, which ate up a lot of my time. I haven't had as much time as I quite would have liked to gather a bunch of information on all of that stuff, but
yeah, you do have to spend time on it because you spend the first 3 days with it not working.
yeah.
And it finally falls in place. But yeah, just with grids and Flexbox, how they interact and so on.
I was gonna say I pulled it up on my phone and it did adjust to the mobile. So it's mobile responsive, whether you realize it or not.
We do. That is a part that's included. Yeah, maybe whether or not Joe knew that. So yeah, we teach them how to be responsive.
It's a lot. There's a lot to cover in an introductory 12-week. It's a crash course. You take it all in. I know.
Crash is the operative word.
with some of the other students, while they've got some really great ideas for their web page, and there's just no back end. There's no database. They haven't, time, energy. Everything just to go into it, but it's just nothing to connect it to yet. And I think once they get to that stage, it'll open a lot of doors for what they can do with where do you store all the recipes? Where do you store all the stories? Where are they uploaded to? Those kinds of things. The idea is there. It's just now, carrying it through to that next step.
Yeah.
Good to see you again, Joe.
Thanks. Good to see you too.
Joe, I was also wanting to say, I interviewed you for the interviews we had a couple of months, or I can't even remember where time's going, but
it's a couple weeks ago.
Was it a couple weeks ago? Okay. But your elevator pitch, it was solid. Like I remember you were I like that you seemed very confident. You had a nice flow. And how you presented it. I think the only other maybe transition is to say, if you are going to show this off in an interview, is to say, tie in that personal, like, my cousin, had stage 4 cancer, researched the right foods, and that's kind of why this kind of came to light. And then kind of show, I think that would be, with that personal touch, it does help. I would say I would be a little cautious of the font you used. It's a little challenging to read, especially if you have a lot of it. So I would maybe tweak that a lot of the times. What font is it? Is it Comic or?
Are you talking about the font here at the bottom, or?
The font in the body copy, like this is where I created this page, and then all your recipes had it. I would just maybe Google what are the there's like a whole thing around like fonts and what's easy to read when you're on a website, recipe wise. So you just, when you're navigating these kind of things, I would just make sure it's, because some of the people maybe if it, are fighting cancer older, and you just want to be kind of
User friendly, yeah.
user friendly for all different types of people that would come to your site.
Thank you.
Great
You're
feedback.
welcome.
Do you have any questions, Joe, for the panel assembled?
I do not. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to view my project. I greatly appreciate all the feedback you've given me.
What's your goal? I was just going to ask if there's still time left. What's your goal? Is it to be a front-end designer, back-end?
Well, I would like to just get my foot in the door of IT. I don't really have too much experience with it. The plan after Savvy Coders for me was to probably just soak up a lot of this stuff still, and maybe move on to another coding boot camp. I heard that Launch Code teaches Python. I think Python would probably be a really good language to start learning as well as JavaScript. But ultimately, yeah, maybe a web developer, junior web developer, potentially a full stack front end and back end.
Cool.
Yeah, I think Python's a great language. If you want to be a web developer, getting deeper in JavaScript would probably serve you better than being shallow in two languages.
Yeah.
But both are good. So I think a lot of people learn multiple languages just to get the feel of them and see which ones they really click with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say the more you can hone in on what it is that you ultimately want to do, obviously that not only allows you to tell your story better, but it obviously allows you to focus those next steps on what that path is, and that's easy to say. So I get that it's easier said than done when you're kind of searching for what it is. But as time goes on and you figure out more of what you love and what you really want to do, then you can hone in on what the steps are to get there, and of course then what's the story behind that. Like you've already started and you've done a nice job.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. And we're going to move on to our last presenter, Mr. Evans. So I'm going to go ahead and admit him. I love the waiting room. It's almost as good as the breakout rooms. Hey, Evan. You're up. Don't mute yourself. Hello.
Oh, okay.
You good?
All right. There's no feedback, is there?
No, we're good.
All right.
How you doing?
I'm here.
Okay. Okay. Well, we've got some folks that are eager to hear what you have to say and to see your project. So I'll just turn it over to you to do an introduction, and then you can share your screen and walk everybody through what you've been doing for these past 12 weeks.
Right up. So name's Evan, and just a bit about myself. I probably met some of you. I've been a very curious soul since I was a kid. The age of 9 is when I started messing around with computers, and started dabbling with HTML on an old IBM I've had. Excuse me a moment. Sorry about that. So after I started messing with HTML, young age. Some years passed, I kind of took a hiatus from it. 18 years of age comes around, and I found out about CSS, and that was a really big thing for me because it made me realize just how powerful, such powerful tools were available to me from just being at home on a home computer. It was fascinating to me that I could make very rudimentary websites, similar to what you see with big name companies back then, and I wanted to get more into it. My curiosity was spiked. So, skipping forward to recently, last year, 2019, I was talking with state funding, and Savvy Coders came up. I started Savvy Coders to change my career path. I was going down the path in the engineering field. It found out that it really wasn't my niche. And after doing a lot of the pre-course works and being involved with technology quite a bit, I find that it's easy for me to keep pace with technology. And I find that I get a challenge and a certain joy out of how quick pace it can be. As for my projects, my project revolves around, it's designed to be a web app. And let me see. It's in very crude form right now. Is everyone able to see that?
It's really small.
Might have to. Not any better?
A little bit.
Okay. So the basic gist of what's going on right now, it is currently incomplete. I was waiting until we finished the course so I could have all the pieces of the puzzle to realize, not realize, but I lost the words here. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to word that, but just I wanted to make sure I had all the pieces of the puzzle to make sure I wasn't leaving anything off the table, as well as the personal research that I've been doing in between classes. So basic gist, it is designed to be a web app. Future plans will be a dedicated phone app. So for now, there's the concept is you have a login. So you would log in here, you enter your credentials. If you have a new account, you would be then taken to the next page, which would be to add your vehicle, motorcycle, or diesel vehicle, with such information as make, model, trim, number of cylinders, engine displacement, as well as the current mileage at the time of entry, as well as even give your vehicle a name if you do that, and a photo. Once you are complete and you go to submit your vehicle, then you will be taken to your dashboard. Now, the dashboard is where all of the information will be compiled. So the last fuel up, the last recorded mileage, and your average MPG. And you can cycle through, if you have multiple vehicles, you have to cycle through as such. These are all just placeholders to demonstrate what the intended functionality is for once the website goes, or the web app goes live. As for how I built this, it is using the basics of a single page application. I find that using an SPA really helps to streamline, and also in case there's a user who might not have an adequate internet connection, everything loads up once and is basically ready to be deployed as soon as it's enacted on. At current, it is not too heavily JavaScripted. This will be heavily, have a heavy use of Firebase. And Firebase was our most recent curriculum, and that is something I'm still exploring at this moment to thoroughly understand it and how I can implement it to this project to be as effective as possible. That covers it for my project. Are there any questions?
So this is not live. We can't tinker around with it.
Not at the moment. No. None of the options work yet. They haven't been linked. And that was just something I was just needing more time with now that I've completed the course and I understand everything that needs to be done now.
Do you have a name for your vehicle?
Do I have a name for my vehicle?
Yes.
Little Red.
Little Red. There you go. I like it.
So, Evan, good to see you again. And I may have missed this at the beginning. So what is the purpose of your website? Why would someone come here and enter this information?
Oh, I'm sorry. So the purpose behind, or the demographic I'm seeking, are those who look to, those who are, I would say, a budget conscious of where their finances are going. As we all know, our vehicles are lifelines to our social interaction as well as to and from work. So it can really help to know how much you're spending. If you're overspending, it's obviously you don't want to do that. As well as maintenance side of things. If your vehicle, things might seem fine, but your miles per gallon can give you a telltale sign that something might be going on with your engine that your system may not catch. Just case point, an example, if your vehicle is tested by the manufacturers to get 30 miles to the gallon, and you're only getting about 18 to 20 miles to the gallon, something might be going on that's causing that indifference. So this isn't. I aim to have this in place to let users be able to record their data and get a better understanding what's going on with the vehicle. You might find that you may not need to get that checkup that you were planning on getting in the next few weeks, and could actually put it off. I did forget to add to that a future implementation that I want to integrate is Google Sheets, so that all of this information is shown on a Google Sheet, and at the end of the year, you can also go back and review all of this data and separate personal from business trips, and it can serve as a viable tax tool.
So Evan, I'll throw at you what we threw at Joe and Shawn too. It's just kind of what are you hoping to do down the road? Where do you hope your training and all that takes you, and that sort of thing?
Where I hope my training takes me, I would like to get into a junior development position and expand. As of right now, I'm honestly not certain what direction I can go in the field. Being IT being as vast as it is, I would like to explore many opportunities and see where I fit best.
No, that's wise, of course. And I noticed on your resume you've got that you served in the military, it looked like. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Well, first of all, thanks for that, of course.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate that. And I would use that I may be telling you what you already know, but certainly utilize that. That is one network of many that, we all have different groups that can be part of our overall network, and that would certainly be one where I suspect there's plenty of people who maybe have taken a similar path, that are just further down that path, and that could certainly be good for you to connect with too. So I would encourage you in that.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi Evan, it's Steve.
Hi.
Yeah, no, these things always run out of time at the last minute, don't they? When I did mine, I ended up, everything was static because, the design was more important than the coding, but you just run out of time and start throwing things over the side. Particularly, to move into coding, there is that what happens next part of like how to take the ideas forward, get into some of the more advanced concepts. So, this is just an arbitrary deadline today because of the session, but you're onto a really good idea, and these are meant to be fun projects that you just kind of keep tinkering with. So definitely kind of keep them going, because it really just showcases of what you've learned, and that's a constantly moving point in time anyway. So you guys covered a lot of material in the 12 weeks. It takes a lot to bring it all together.
Yeah, absolutely.
In particular, a lot of time. So lots of things pop up that get in the way. So even with this, you can play around with a lot of these things. I had a car maintenance app too for my project. So you can get into having pictures of the car, and all sorts of different ways of thinking about how to bring functionality into it. So it's actually one of those app ideas that there's professional ones out there from companies like Carfax, and they still suck. So you can have a lot of fun with yours of just tinkering around with it even after today. So don't think of it by any stretch as a single point in time. This is just when we're having the call. It's not when you're done.
Okay.
Sorry, I was on mute.
I saw your lips moving.
Evan, I was just curious, did you have a security clearance when you were in the Army?
No, I was just an MP.
Okay. I was just going to say, if you did, that might be something you might want to include on your resume. We're always looking for people with security clearances, and if you've had one, sometimes an employer will look at that, and even if it's inactive, a lot of people will put it on their resume. But as a government contractor, that's why I asked. Just curious.
Good question. Evan, do you have questions for the group assembled?
I do not at the moment, no. But I believe I have some of you on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
So if any questions spring up, I definitely will be reaching out for guidance.
So what kind of car do you have?
Right now, just a 97 Mazda MX-5 and a 2019 Audi A8.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Not one, but two.
I will be getting rid of both of them soon enough.
All right. Well, we will draw this demo day from the April 2020 Savvy Coders cohort to an end. As you know, we had two other groups running with other folks in those groups. And if I know I started recording my Zoom session late, I just forgot to hit the button, but I hope my counterparts did a better job, and I think they did. So I will send you all a follow-up email with a link. We'll put those on our Savvy Coders YouTube channel. Should you have any interest, one of the ways you might discern whether or not you'd want to look at those videos is the demo day, handy Andy demo day PowerPoint brochure that I shared. Yeah, if there's anybody that struck your fancy, you certainly don't have to go through me. You can talk to them directly, or if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, or if you want to help out in any way. You guys all gave such great feedback. Many of you participate in our mock interviews, which is typically 2 weeks prior to this, to help folks with their elevator pitch. And we did thank you, Andrea, for saying something to Joe. We did work with all of the students to really impress upon them how important it is to kind of have your act together when you are in front of a group.
Sorry, I feel like we're in this like COVID world and I don't know when time exists, but I just remember, Joe, you did a really good job on improving that. So I just wanted to definitely give you a little shout out because I was very impressed with yours.
Yeah, the feedback, it's really what it's all about. If you don't take the time to stand up and give your deal or show your work, you're not gonna, it's harder to improve. That audience of one is, can be very forgiving and can be very hard, but there's nothing quite like getting out into the real world and getting some feedback from some folks that, have been there, done that, or maybe not in a technical way like Jeff, but certainly had a lot to share, Jeff. And we appreciate all of the encouragement and certainly the more technical, aspects of what our students are creating, and knowing that in this vein to seek the next opportunity in IT, whatever that might be, it's important to have those pieces included and understood to a way that you can actually explain them to your audience. So. Anybody else have anything they want to add or subtract? Or Brett, you're talking, but we can't hear
right.
you.
You're right.
I thought everyone did a great job. It's hard to do these projects at the tail end in a rush, and under current circumstances, I'm sure it's even a lot harder. When people were getting together, it was a little easier to have the mutual support group and have other people debug things. So, current way of working is a lot harder.
It is. It certainly is. It certainly is different. I hope you guys felt supported. Shawn, Joe, Evan, virtual, was it okay? Was it better than you thought? Was it, oh my God, I wish I could have attended this in person. I'm all about the feedback, so please share. Shawn, for you, how was it?
Shawn, you're in mute.
Shawn, there you go.
It was good. I appreciated all the feedback from all of you guys. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous and stuff. I think it's good to be a little nervous in these situations, and I don't get nervous very often. My old job, I dealt with a lot of high-ranking people, and I actually did do a lot of military jobs. And none of that ever really scared me, but this for some reason made me nervous. But I appreciate all the feedback, and I think all you guys were great. It made my day. Thank you very much.
Good. Joe, how about you?
It was definitely different. I would have probably liked it a little bit better if it were in person, but given the current circumstances, this is the way we have to do it, and this is what development's all about, right?
Amen. There you go. Evan, how about you?
So the question of being virtual or not, is it pertaining to this demo day or just the entire session?
Both.
Oh, so in that regard, but at the same time, challenges. And being that it's virtual like this, I've worked in virtual settings before with City of Wentzville. So I'm used to it per se, but over this length of time and that being the primary.
Ooh, your audio is doing some weird stuff, Evan.
My internet's being wonky again. Is it better now? Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, it's different. It's in a good way. And I look at it as preconditioning for this field that I'm looking at exploring, because I have two friends who are senior developers, and one has not seen an office in the past 5 years. He works strictly remotely. So I see it as a good kind of conditioning to get used to what I'm about to step into.
There you go. It's the right attitude. All right, everybody. Thanks again for your time, your attention, your feedback, and just being a great fan of Savvy Coders. So have a wonderful evening. Go outside and enjoy the heat or not. And the 4th of July is next week. So happy holiday to everybody. And see you next time. Thanks again.
Thanks, Elaine.
Yep.
Good luck,
Thanks, everyone.